I developed a technique in the 1970s of changing the strings on a double bass. So in a way, considering it as just a very large resonating box and putting on unwound piano wires. By putting on unwound piano wires, that means it's not the thick wires that you find in the low strings of a piano. We get much higher overtones, and our fundamental tone is also much higher. We're actually in the violin range. So the contrabass comes into the violin range in terms of pitch or tone. And I developed a technique with a bow of what I call exciting the strings. In English, exciting means to set them into vibration, so it has a kind of a double meaning. And the technique with the bow is to isolate and enhance certain harmonic vibrations in the strings. And at the same time, I isolate with my left hand certain of the overtones found on the wires. So because the wires are so thin, and under great tension, they're able to vibrate in some of the higher harmonics or overtones of the series. The music is amplified in order to hear all of the sort of details of the sound. I do not stop the string, which in English means to press the wires or the strings here against the fingerboard to separate it into two vibrating parts. So I never do this. It's actually impossible because the strings are under such high tension, I would end up with bloody fingers. I have to hope it doesn't break. I often say that actually I'm just there to set the strings in motion. I'm not, so a musician, or when we say a master musician, it generally means someone who can control his instrument. You know, it's like colonialism. So you have to really control and dominate the instrument so you can, you know, let it do what you want, yeah? And in this case, it's the opposite, actually. I'm just letting what's in the strings or in this resonating situation, I'm just letting it vibrate or allowing it or finding the way to allow it to vibrate in the best way it can. So I'm sort of letting the instrument do its thing, and rather than, in a way, trying to force it to do something which it might not want to do on its own. Whereas I don't necessarily personally need to constantly perform to be high, as some musicians do. I do feel that because my music, either individual, this one instrument, or the ensemble music, very much deals with the acoustics of the single instrument in the context of the acoustics of a room, that actually the music is best heard live. I mean, my music, I've always felt, is a live experience, and that the recordings can only simulate it. I'm also going to do another piece which I just developed recently with the aid of computer, in which I work with the intonation that I've been developing over the last 30 years. It's a scale which has 20 tones per octave, which is based on the overtone series, and I should say those are unequal tones. So actually the first piece this evening will be developed with a computer, where I sort of explore the scale, intonation, microtonal intonation of my music, and in the second section I'll perform what's called nodal excitation from 1979 on this prepared instrument.